Duane "Dog" Chapman was once the most famous bounty hunter in America.
I want you to wish that Mexico forgives us.
Okay, ready?
Okay, don't tell me, I can't watch.
A familiar face in reality television with the show Dog the Bounty Hunter. He was known for his tough persona, dramatic chases, and his ability to reform criminals. But after years at the peak of fame, Dog Chapman gradually disappeared from the screen. From personal loss and legal controversies to declining health, his life has been marked by tragedy. The death of his wife, Beth Chapman, left a huge void, while scandals in his career severely tarnished his reputation. So what really happened? This is the story of the rise, glory, and the life-altering events that changed Dog the Bounty Hunter forever. Duane Lee Chapman was born on February 2, 1953, and grew up in a struggling family in Denver, Colorado. His father was a strict and disciplined former Navy man, while his mother was a devout Christian. Dog's childhood was far from easy. He was raised in a harsh environment where strength and resilience were essential for survival. The toughness instilled by his father, combined with his mother's strict religious principles, shaped a man full of contradictions. Lacking emotional support and easily influenced by his surroundings, Chapman soon fell into a life of violence and rebellion. As a teenager, he ran away from home and joined the Devil's Disciples motorcycle gang, an infamous group involved in illegal activities across the country. To him, this was more than just a gang, it was a real family, where power was built on loyalty and strength. Chapman quickly adapted, engaging in theft, smuggling, and armed conflicts, acts he saw as the rules of the game in his world. In 1976, an incident changed his life completely. During a criminal operation, one of Chapman's friends shot and killed a man while he was waiting in the car. Even though he did not pull the trigger, the law still held him accountable as an accomplice. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison at Texas State Penitentiary, one of the harshest prisons at the time. The first few months behind bars were brutal. Texas prisons were not for the weak. Every mistake could mean death, and he was forced to learn how to survive with toughness and wit. But this was also where he began to change. A fellow inmate, a former priest, warned him that the gang life led to only 2 fates: dying in a shootout or rotting in prison. Those words, combined with long periods of reflection, made Chapman realize he had taken the wrong path. In prison, his perspective on life shifted. He became a prison warden's assistant, a special role given to inmates responsible for maintaining order. He helped prevent gang conflicts and kept the peace among prisoners. It was also here that he first encountered the bounty hunting profession, when he assisted guards in stopping an inmate from escaping. This sparked a thought in him. Instead of being a criminal, he could hunt them down. After 18 months, Chapman was granted parole and released early. As he walked out of the prison gates, he was no longer the same Duane Chapman, the rebellious biker gang member. He stepped forward with a new mindset, determined to change his life and make amends for his past mistakes. But how could a former convict start over? He had no formal education, no stable job, and his criminal record followed him like a shadow. Chapman wandered for a while, trying various jobs to make ends meet: construction work, security guard duties, and manual labor. But nothing felt like his true calling. Then, an unexpected opportunity arose. A friend asked him to track down a debtor, and Chapman caught the man within minutes. For the first time in his life, he felt like he had found a job that truly suited him, one that combined his street survival skills with the lessons he had learned in prison. At that moment, he knew he was born to be a bounty hunter. And from there, the journey of Dog the Bounty Hunter officially began. The birth of Dog the Bounty Hunter. Chapman began working as a bounty hunter, a legally recognized profession in the U.S. that allows licensed individuals to track down fugitives evading the law in exchange for a reward. Having spent years on the streets and in prison, he had an unparalleled understanding of criminal psychology. He knew how they thought, where they might hide, and how to anticipate their next move. For him, this wasn't just a job. It was an opportunity to atone for his past by capturing those who had gone down the wrong path. In the early days, he primarily worked for bail bond companies, taking on small contracts to hunt down fugitives. But Chapman didn't just chase criminals. He developed his own unique style. Rather than simply apprehending them and handing them over to the police, he tried to talk to them, giving them a chance to recognize their mistakes. He believed that people like him, those who had taken the wrong path, could still change if given the right guidance. This approach made him a distinctive figure in the bounty hunting world. Tough, compassionate. Chapman's reputation grew in the industry, but his biggest breakthrough came in 2003 when he pulled off a daring capture that caught the nation's attention. And the next hunt would become the turning point in his life. Andrew Luster, the grandson of Max Factor's founder, had been convicted of multiple counts of rape and sexual assault. Though being sentenced to 124 years in prison, Luster fled the courtroom and vanished. He became one of America's most wanted fugitives, with federal authorities and law enforcement relentlessly searching for him, but to no avail. At the time, Chapman was working independently as a bounty hunter and decided to track Luster on his own. After months of relentless pursuit, he discovered that Luster was hiding in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Along with his son and his team, Chapman devised a plan to take him down. In June 2003, they successfully ambushed and captured Luster on the streets of Mexico. But instead of being hailed as a hero, Chapman found himself in trouble with local authorities. The Mexican police, who did not permit bounty hunting on their soil, arrested Chapman and his team for illegal detention. Although he was later released and allowed to return to the U.S., the incident sparked significant legal controversy and left him facing potential extradition back to Mexico. Though the legal troubles, the Luster capture catapulted Chapman into the spotlight. He became a media sensation, and it wasn't long before Hollywood took an interest in his dramatic story. Following the Andrew Luster case, Chapman received an offer from A&E to create a reality show about his bounty hunting work. Dog the Bounty Hunter officially premiered in 2004, taking viewers into the heart of real-life criminal pursuits. Intense, suspenseful, but also deeply emotional. The show quickly became a phenomenon. Audiences were drawn not only to the adrenaline-pumping chases, but also to Chapman's persona. He wasn't just a cold-hearted bounty hunter relying solely on brute force. He had a unique ability to persuade and reform criminals. Sometimes, his conversations with the fugitives after their capture were even more impactful than the high-speed pursuits. He counseled them, encouraged them to turn their lives around, and reminded them that it wasn't too late for a second chance. Beyond Chapman, the show also featured his wife, Beth Chapman, who wasn't just his life partner, but also his trusted ally in the business. Their dynamic was electric. Chapman, the relentless enforcer, and Beth, the sharp, no-nonsense strategist, creating a compelling duo. Together, they became the heart of the show, drawing millions of viewers each week. Within just a few years, Dog the Bounty Hunter transformed Chapman from an ordinary bounty hunter into a reality television star. He appeared on major talk shows, was invited to speak at high-profile events, and even became a pop culture icon. For years, the show documented hundreds of captures, from minor bail jumpers to dangerous criminals. Chapman and his team not only tracked fugitives, but also used psychological tactics to flush them out. The intense confrontations, the words of encouragement after an arrest, the tears of families. These elements combined to create a gripping and emotional narrative. However, with fame came challenges. Chapman was no longer an anonymous figure working in the shadows, but a public personality whose every action was scrutinized. Controversies and scandals began to surface, and soon he would learn that the spotlight came at a heavy price. A life plunged into tragedy. In 2019, Duane "Dog" Chapman's life changed forever when Beth Chapman, his wife and loyal partner, passed away after a long battle with stage 4 throat cancer. Her death didn't just take away the woman he loved most. It shattered a part of him. For years, Beth had been more than just his wife. She was the anchor that kept him grounded, the one who helped him manage his temper, impulsive decisions, and the relentless chaos of bounty hunting. Even as her health deteriorated, Beth refused to surrender to her illness easily. She continued to participate in bounty hunts, maintaining her trademark toughness and determination. But as the disease progressed rapidly, all efforts to fight it became futile. Her final days were filled with pain and exhaustion. She remained strong for her husband. Chapman stayed by her side, trying to mask his pain, but it was evident to everyone that he was falling apart. When she took her last breath, a part of him died with her. In the aftermath of Beth's passing, Chapman suffered severe chest pains and was rushed to the hospital. Tests revealed that he had a serious heart condition requiring immediate surgery. For a man who had built his identity on strength and endurance, this was a devastating blow. For decades, he had chased fugitives, survived countless dangerous encounters, but now, his own body had become his greatest enemy. Following surgery, Chapman was forced to confront a harsh new reality. He was no longer the invincible figure audiences once knew. The exhaustion, lingering pain, and physical decline forced him to slow down, even though his spirit resisted it. The once fiery man who dominated the screen was now frail, emotionally broken, and struggling to find the will to continue the work he and Beth had built together. He neglected his health, spiraled into despair, and for months he lost the motivation to keep going. But grief wasn't the only challenge he had to face. Chapman was no stranger to controversy. Throughout his career, he had been involved in several scandals related to his outspoken nature and aggressive behavior. However, with Beth by his side, she had always managed to contain the damage, keeping his public image from crumbling. But with her gone, the cracks in his reputation began to widen. One of his biggest scandals occurred in 2007 when a leaked recording surfaced, revealing Chapman using racial slurs while talking about his son's girlfriend. The audio spread rapidly, sparking widespread outrage. A&E swiftly suspended Dog the Bounty Hunter, forcing Chapman to issue a public apology. He insisted that he was not racist and that his words had been misunderstood, but the damage to his image was irreversible. For the first time, the man who had built a career on tracking down lawbreakers found himself under the weight of public judgment. Years after Beth's passing, as Chapman struggled to rebuild his career, the past returned to haunt him once again. In 2021, his new show, Dog Unleashed, was canceled just before its premiere due to fresh allegations of racist remarks and violations of firearm regulations. Chapman denied all accusations, but his denials did little to salvage his reputation. Producers severed ties with him, and the once open doors in the reality television industry began to close. At the height of his career, Chapman and Beth had built a strong empire, fueled by their television show, sponsorship deals, and lucrative bounty hunting contracts. But after Beth's death, his financial situation became increasingly unstable. The major television deals were gone. The debts accumulated during their years of extravagance remained. Additionally, Chapman found himself entangled in multiple lawsuits. Some former associates sued him over unpaid wages, while others accused him of mismanaging family assets after Beth's death. These legal troubles compounded his struggles, forcing him to confront not just the pain of loss, but also an onslaught of financial and legal battles. Following a series of controversies and scandals, Chapman found himself gradually pushed to the fringes of an industry he once dominated. Producers lost interest in working with him, and networks that had once eagerly aired his shows distanced themselves. The man who had once commanded the attention of millions was now on the outside looking in. Chapman attempted to make a comeback. He made appearances on smaller shows, granted interviews, and tried to maintain a presence in the media. But none of it was enough to restore his former stature. While he still had a loyal fan base, his image had been irreversibly tarnished. From a man who once stood at the pinnacle of fame, Chapman now faced a bitter reality. His past mistakes, personal losses, and the television industry's rejection had left him in a near inescapable downfall. What ending awaits Dog the Bounty Hunter ahead? The final chapter of bounty hunting. For Chapman, bounty hunting was more than just a job. It was his identity, the one thing that had kept him afloat and away from the shadows of his past. So, though his declining health, he was determined to return to television. In 2019, he launched Dog's Most Wanted, a new show designed to revive the brand he had built. This time, the show focused on tracking down America's most dangerous fugitives, with Chapman's old team reuniting for the mission. But what made this series different was that Beth was also part of it, appearing in the early episodes despite battling terminal cancer. For Chapman, this comeback was not just a career opportunity. It was a way to preserve Beth's memory. He wanted Dogs Most Wanted to stand as a testament to their shared strength and resilience, proving that even after Beth's passing, their legacy would continue. But reality was far harsher than he had anticipated. Dogs Most Wanted failed to achieve the success Chapman had hoped for. It couldn't replicate the explosive impact that Dog the Bounty Hunter once had. Part of the reason was a shift in audience preferences. Another was that Chapman no longer carried the same commanding presence. His declining health made the chase sequences less thrilling. Gone was the energetic man with flowing blonde hair, diving headfirst into intense pursuits. Now, Chapman moved slower, tired more easily, and the adrenaline-fueled excitement that once captivated audiences began to fade. After just one season, the show was canceled. Chapman's attempt to reignite his career had failed, pushing him deeper into the void left by Beth's passing. But his struggles weren't limited to his career and health. His personal life also became a whirlwind of controversy. Loneliness after Beth's death was something Chapman couldn't bear. Though he once vowed he would never love another woman, just a year after her passing, he publicly announced his relationship with Francie Frayne, a widow from Colorado. Francie was no stranger to grief. Her husband had also died of cancer, and their shared pain created a bond that deepened quickly. Within months, Chapman proposed. But this decision sparked intense backlash. Beth's family and some of Chapman's fans were outraged, accusing him of moving on too soon. They criticized him for not mourning long enough, claiming he was trying to fill a void with a rushed relationship. Some of Beth's relatives even publicly condemned him, saying he had betrayed her memory. Despite the criticism, Chapman married Francie in September 2021. He insisted that she had given him a reason to live again, pulling him out of the darkness and teaching him that life must go on. But no matter what he said, many people still couldn't forget Beth or the promises he had once made. With his career in decline, his health failing, and controversies surrounding him, Chapman was no longer the legendary Dog the Bounty Hunter of the past. He had once held everything: fame, fortune, a rock-solid career, and a partner who stood by him through it all. But now he was left with just his name and a past that fewer and fewer people remembered. Though he no longer engaged in high-risk hunts, Chapman occasionally assisted in fugitive captures when invited by former colleagues. With decades of experience, he transitioned into an advisory role, mentoring a new generation of bounty hunters. No longer on the front lines, but still keeping a close watch on the industry. After marrying Francie, Chapman's life took a dramatic turn. Once a man consumed by work, always chasing fugitives, he now focused more on personal fulfillment. Francie brought a sense of peace he had never known before. They traveled together, exploring places Chapman had never thought of visiting. No longer living a life constantly on the edge, he learned to slow down and enjoy simpler moments. They attended religious events, embraced a quieter life in Colorado, where Chapman finally found a sense of serenity after years of turmoil. In recent years, Chapman has embarked on smaller media projects. He has appeared on podcasts, given interviews, and shared insights from his bounty hunting career. He also turned to writing, recounting his experiences in books, hoping to inspire those who had lost their way, just as he once had. While he is no longer the reality TV icon he once was, Chapman still maintains a loyal fan base. Those who had followed him from the beginning continue to watch his journey, curious about his life after the peak of his fame. The chances of a full-fledged return seem slim. His age and health prevent him from bounty hunting like before, and the entertainment industry has moved on from the style of reality television that once made him famous. But for Chapman, what matters most is that he keeps moving forward. He may no longer be Dog the Bounty Hunter of his prime, but he is still Duane Chapman, a man who has lived through storms, refused to stay down, and continues to search for a new path. What do you think about Chapman's journey? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for our latest videos.